What's going on? Welcome to Unlocking Your Inner Strength. In these episodes, I share with you insights and inspirations that have come to me on my path in life, and hopefully they can be a welcome hand of guidance as you move along your journey. I teach because I'm passionate about my message. I teach because it helps me to learn more deeply. Thanks for sharing a few minutes of your time with me for this week's episode, and without further ado, here is this week's show. Hey everybody, it's Kyle with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength, episode 270. Happy to be with you today. Going to go over some mind map stuff, kind of deeper mind map stuff, but I'm going to keep it simple so you can use it. This morning I had the thought, when I got out, I did my cold shower, that's part of my morning routine, and I said, man, life is really good. Life is good. And yeah, there's stuff that can pop up as problems and all this, but no problem, rarely does a problem exist in the present moment right now. Problems need time to survive. I'm going to go into this a little further down, but life is good when you're in the moment. Is anybody perfect at that? Not that I know of, but it's something you should constantly work on, right? How to be present. So I'm going to explain some concepts to you and stuff I've come up with throughout the years. And you tap in if you need to, post a question, and let me know. So first thing, if you have the timeline of life, you have past, present, and future. Let's start with the future. Two things to be aware of with the future. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. Okay, it's a pattern recognition machine. It's prediction and response to move forward in a nice, smooth manner. The further out you think into the future, the more your anxiety is going to rise. This is called the anxiety gap, right? So if you're here, anxiety doesn't have that much time to build. The further out you think, it's going to continue to build because you have less patterns, you have less ability to formulate a response. So that's a key to your thinking. Part of this is just being aware of what you're feeling and what you're thinking. When you feel anxiety or something like that, know that your thoughts are future-based. You catch yourself and come back to the present moment, right? You can't do anything in the future. It's always now, right? This is stuff I've always worked on and struggled with. That's why I'm sharing this with you. Second thing with the future, when you look at that timeline, past, present, and future, fear lies in the future. The future does not exist. Think about that for a moment, because most people can't get their head around that. The future does not exist. It's a projection of your imagination. It's always now. The future is never here. It's always now. So once I realize this, then any fear I had, usually I can very quickly get it to be the fear is imaginary because the future doesn't exist. So you're predicting these things that might happen, might go wrong, and they never do. So that's two things about anxiety and fear. They're both future-based thoughts. Now, from one of the books I'm going back through, if you cannot feel your emotions, if you're cut off from them, you'll eventually experience them on a purely physical level as a physical problem or symptom. There's a lot of brain science behind this, but know that the parietal lobe is where a lot of emotion comes up, but it's also the part of your body where physical pain, a big center for that, physical movement. So know that you got to be in touch with emotion, right? Motive. But motion, think of the word motion. Emotion, right, is internalized energy. But emotion can be released and expressed through physical movement. So just remember that. If you keep suppressing, you're not you're eventually going to pay for it. This has happened to me before too. That's a whole fascinating topic, TMS, which maybe I should finally get around to doing some more stuff about that for you guys. Now, another thing, and this book is The Power of Now. I've been talking about lately. This is probably the fourth time I believe I'm going through it over the past 6 years, let's say. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. You can always control your attitude. You can't always control the external circumstances. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Now, this is very powerful for me. When I started teaching way back when, I remember I was really, really big into self-development. I was really getting into that, but something that maybe I learned from Tony Robbins. But was the fact that whatever happened to me, I would have the attitude, it's my bad, I got this. Because it always gave me control, meaning that if it was somehow something that I overlooked, I wasn't pointing the finger to blame. Maybe I didn't give somebody instructions the right way or whatever, but it always came back to me, which gave me the ultimate power. When you're always blaming other people and acting like life is happening to you, not for you, you give away all your power. That's not a good thing. Again, these are deeper level mind map principles that you can combine with the other stuff that I teach with mind map, but it's cool stuff. You got to realize, and I always talk about the process of creation: thought, word, action. Okay? Thought, word, action. You got to be careful, to be mindful, I should say, of energizing thought patterns. Like when you're going down a dark place and now everything starts going, it's energizing your thought pattern, getting you into an emotional state. And remember that emotions and logic don't mix, right? Okay? They don't mix, like oil and vinegar, okay? So keep that in mind. Your thoughts can energize, and they do. You have a lot more energy to your body than physiological energy that you just get from breaking nutrients down and getting rest. Rest is a big piece of this other energy, but there's other energy. And part of that is what you're thinking. And if you don't believe me, just think about the last time that, and this is on a very low level of energy and thought patterns, think about the last really demanding, high attention workday that you had, and notice that you probably felt physically drained after that. But your thoughts have a very real pattern to them. Something when we were in Florida that I was talking with Devin about that popped into my head. Think about anger, right? A lot of people have anger issues. Anger, any feeling or thought you have with anger is tied to the past. Think about that. That's kind of going to blow your mind, probably like the future-based stuff I was talking about. But anything that you're angry about, it's linked to the past somehow. The past doesn't exist either. So you can hold on to all those grudges. You can hold on to all this baggage, but it doesn't exist. And who's it harming if you're holding on to it? And you might have to think about that for a while. It could be somebody that you're annoyed at, blah, blah, blah. It's because something they did to you in the past. You could be mad at a group of people. It's because something they did that got you riled up in the past. So just be aware of that type of stuff. I mentioned at the beginning, your problems need time to survive. It doesn't mean you're just going to have this easy going life. You're going to face obstacles. You need obstacles to grow. But the problems elevate themselves in your head when you're constantly focused on them and they're out in the future. If you can't solve it right now, put it to rest. Make note of it. Have a plan and then put it to rest. I was doing this with some stuff yesterday because we celebrated Emma's birthday. It's okay. Deal with that when the time comes. You know what your plan is. But for now, you've got to bring yourself back to the moment. And be very mindful of if you have a predicament or a problem. If you have a problem, it's a good thing. Problems, by their very definition, have a solution. Predicaments have no solution. So there's nothing you can do about them. So don't worry about them, okay? Another cool thing that I'll give you as a tip you can use with people, especially when you're communicating, right? It's all about relationships and how you're communicating with people. Everybody's got a different energy frequency. the simplest way to get into somebody else's frequency is to use their name. Use their name. Your name is the sweetest sound you ever hear. That attunes you to their energy frequency almost rapidly. So in conversation, start practicing this. Use people's names more often. If you meet somebody new, make sure you repeat their name a few times, right? But when you realize how the brain works, right, and what it's craving and all this type of stuff, if you want to be a great conversationalist, make the whole damn conversation about the other person. Ask questions. Really be curious about that person. You're not doing this to manipulate. Be curious about that person. You already know enough about yourself. It's not about you. Okay, so keep that thing. And the last two things I got for you, again, this is like Mind Map 201, some deeper stuff. When you have heightened inner importance, when you're holding yourself up too high, putting too much emphasis on something happening, it's always going to get chopped down. Always. Be aware of that. You could call that ego, call it whatever you want. I remember, so the mind, right, identifies with time, and the mind and ego, let's say they're really the same thing. I remember last summer, it was the first time I had ever done a psychedelic trip. And that was tough, the first one, right? I wasn't dabbling around with the stuff, but because through the research I've done and what I experienced, it was also a beautiful experience, but the ego starts to panic because everything you thought you knew about reality is gone, right? And the physical body all of a sudden is, so the ego starts to panic because that signifies death, even though it's not death. So you think about that. Heightened inner importance. When something's going on in your life, you want it to happen, say, it'd be nice if it would happen. It might not happen. Not a huge deal, and that's it. I got to get this. I got to get this. I got to get this. Don't do that, right? The energy pendulums are always going to come back the other way, and it's going to elude you. Last one, focus on your action. The quickest way to get out of a rut is taking action. Focus is attention. Where your attention goes, energy flows, and results will follow. Where your attention goes, energy flows, and results will follow. Focus on your attention. Focusing on your attention is focusing on the process. Where are you in the process? Don't desire these goals that are going to take you months and months to achieve. Focus on the process. That could be just the target to keep you on the right path. Other than that, focus on the process and what you're doing. So that's what I got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Head over to kylenewell.com. You can get a couple free downloads I have, my reading list, and free fasting manual. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, if there's ever stuff you guys want me to talk about, make sure you let me know. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the share button if there's somebody you know that can use this, and drop a comment.
You wrote for today's episode. I appreciate you and your time, truly. I'm humbled and honored if you made it to the end of this episode. Don't forget, you can go to kylenewell.com for your free ebook written by yours truly on getting started with fasting, infused with 5 mind map principles never before seen. This is something I have not given out to anybody else that'll help you see the light when it comes to your fasting journey and creating better health, both physically and internally. Remember, it's all about the mind, body, and spirit. Until next week, peace.